Well, welcome everyone. My name is Denise Demese. I'm the Director of Faculty Development for the University System of Georgia. And we welcome all of you Chancellor's Learning Scholars. We're so excited to start this new year with all of you. And we hope that you get a lot out of this first of many webinars this fall. The first two, this one and the one on Friday, are really geared toward new Chancellor's Learning Scholars, though if you're a returning Chancellor's Learning Scholar, we welcome you also. And we hope that these two this week will really get you started on the program itself. So this one, this time is a big overview, and then the one on Friday, we're going to dig in a little bit more about facilitation and getting your learning communities up and running. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Dr. Bentley. So Dr. Tristan Bentley is here to welcome us. He is the Chief Academic Officer for the University System of Georgia and has been a great supporter of not only this program, but faculty development in general. So I will be happy to turn this over to you, Dr. Bentley.
Well, great, Denise. Thanks so much for the welcome, and thanks so much everybody for being on the meeting this morning. I first of all want to give you a big thank you for your willingness to be part of this initiative, and I also want to bring some significant congratulations for being selected. I hope that you know that this is now this is cohort 3 for the Chancellor's Learning Scholars, but I hope you think of this as a significant honor and a significant recognition of you as an instructor, you as a teacher, you as someone who is engaging in ways that we think need to be replicated, need to be discussed, need to be spread more fully across the system. Because that's exactly the idea of the Chancellor's Learning Scholars as we created it now some 2 or 3 years ago, really recognizing, and this is a conversation Jeff and I had not but 5 minutes after we met, I think, when I was on a campus as you are now. Every year we had award ceremonies where faculty would be recognized for being the best faculty, the best faculty in the classroom, the best teachers, the most engaging expositors of their stuff, of their subject matter. And every year we would have them, and they would come and they would wear, there would be some official kind of recognition of that, and everybody would clap. And then we would never hear from them again. There was never a venue to actually have and discuss what it is that made them such a wonderful teacher and such an engaging faculty member, and the ways in which they were beloved of their students. And so what we recognized was what just the amazing wealth of knowledge that there is across our system, ways in which we can take exactly what it is that you do every day and celebrate that, and more than that, allow you to be able to work with and have conversations with other faculty colleagues about the successes that you've had in the classrooms, the struggles that you had in the classroom, the challenges that you had in the classroom, the ways that you have overcome those things, and ways, as I say, that you have become the extraordinary classroom instructor that you are. And so that's the idea. And so I hope that you know, and we'll hear more about it later, that we asked each of our campuses not but a few weeks ago to nominate extraordinary faculty members, extraordinary teachers on their campus, and that's the reason why you are now have been selected and invited to be part of this. And I really want to make sure that you know how extraordinarily appreciative I am, and the Chancellor is, and the system is, for all of the work that you do day in, day out, especially in these times which we know are extraordinarily challenging. I don't know that any of us really, even a few months ago when we were discussing the third cohort of the Chancellor's Learning Scholars, would think that we would be where we are today, and yet here we are. And really the kinds of ways in which you're able to engage young minds perhaps not quite such young minds in being excited about the things that you study and you work with and you research and all of that. Perhaps that's more important today than it ever has been. So that's what this initiative is all about. So again, a big thank you and many congratulations for being selected. I think you know that this is part and parcel of a much broader portfolio of work that we've been undertaking together across the system. I hope that you've heard about the Momentum Year work that we have been undertaking together. And this work is absolutely part of that, part of these ideas of how it is that we, by enabling students to more deeply learn the kinds of material that they're exposed to in college, ways in which we can enable them to more fully understand the purpose and the value of what it is that they're learning and how that is incorporated into this journey that they're following from the moment that they enter college all the way across to beginning their career, understanding what the evidence-based practices are that we believe really actually improve outcomes for all of our students, but especially improve outcomes for those students who in the past have not been well served by higher education across the United States. So this is all part and parcel of what we talk about with this momentum approach idea, and exactly the Chancellor's Learning Scholars is an integral part of that, ways in which, as part of a community of learning, we're able to spread and discuss and further the best kinds of teaching, the best kinds of practices. And as I say, that's all the more crucial today, just because of the fact that I think we are at really at a nexus of understanding how it is that we can take what has been up until now, perhaps relatively traditional kinds of teaching techniques, and now realize that we have to be new, we have to be different, we have to perhaps do things in the classroom we've never had to do in the past to be able to engage students in ways that the new scenarios that we're experiencing really force us to. So that's the reason why, and you'll hear much more about it today and in the coming times. That's the reason why the focus of this year's topics are really around ways in which we can use hybrid kinds of learning, using technology in the classroom to engage in the kinds of high impact practice kinds of pedagogies that we know are really lead to the deeper kinds of learning that enable students to be successful. So with that, as I say, my purpose today was to just help you to feel welcome and honored. I hope that you do in fact feel welcome and honored, and I'm happy to hand back to Denise to really tell you what you need to know today. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. So Dr. Jeff Galle, you guys have all been corresponding with him, is going to give an introduction of the program. OneHE is here with us, and you should have received an email from me this morning with information about how to log on and create an account. And I've seen that probably 25 or so of you have already done so. Excellent, A+. Thank you for doing that. If you didn't receive that email from me, let me know and I'll send you another one. We have some former CLSs here to talk about what came out of the program for them, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end. So I'm going to turn this over to Jeff Galle.
Okay, good morning. It's 120 people in the room. My goodness, here we go. All right, I'm going to share my screen, and I have a very brief overview of the program for those of you, the majority, who are coming into this for the first time. There may be some from cohort 2. I want to thank Dr. Bentley for his introduction and his support for faculty development writ large and this particular program, which has been, I've watched it grow over the 3 years, and the potential for touching the practices, the products, the pedagogy of many of the USG 12,000 faculty is in play as we speak. So the learning community is our structure, and what it looks like will vary. This is an image from the University of Georgia of last year. This is an image of what we may be looking at this year. So however the learning community works out in your institution or in your connection to your colleagues, whether it's face-to-face or virtual, we want to provide like a default in the world of the virtual space in Zoom or Teams or whatever program that you use, in order to have a default so that we can always remain this connected to each other. So the learning community has at least two strong values. And one is this connection that we have, the hunger that we have to talk and to share and to collaborate. But there's also another piece, and that is the content that we're sharing is really fundamentally important as well. So with our development of good or powerful student success pedagogies, identifying those, supporting those in the trainings and the webinars through the year, through the fall, we think from previous cohorts that you will see this kind of program provides a concentrated, enriched support with far-reaching effects across the system. So here's a set of bullets. I'm not going to read to you, but when we wrote your provost and asked for nominees, those top two were key criteria that we asked provost to honor. So, you know, again, congratulations. You all are the best, and each of you will lead a collegial small group of faculty that will range in size from 8 to 15, perhaps. And each of you will share over this week and in succeeding weeks the resources that we are building for you to learn from, to organize your community, to set up your community, and to run it in a richly resourced way. There is a stipend and a $500 fee or $500 expense account that will support your purchases for the community. If you are able to meet face-to-face, a good bit of that could be providing refreshments for your participants. I think breaking bread together is a good way to bond. If it's virtual, that source of support will remain, and you will be able to purchase, you know, books and other materials for your members. I want to add that the USG operates under a reimbursement model. So very shortly after this kickoff, an MOU will be sent to the Chief Business Office at your institution with the allowance for each of the Chancellor's Learning Scholars in your institutional cohort. And you will run the prep for the fall, and many of you will begin your communities as early as October, November of this fall. The primary default would be train, recruit, form in the fall, and kick it off in January and run it through the spring. The fees will be invoiced, the cost, the stipends, and the expenses will be invoiced to us, to my office, and the USG will reimburse and provide the stipend upon conclusion of the learning community. This is a 2-year appointment, so this is half of what you'll be doing. 1 year, next year there'll be a second opportunity. The topics may change, the content may change, and the processes should stay about the same. We'll see how the vaccine goes. We hope that we'll be able to spend time together face-to-face as well. This is a slide that shows what we have created and resourced to this point. These materials, the pedagogies you see on the left, have been identified by my office and by the CEDL support as being key cross-disciplinary pedagogies of student success. And whether you work at a research institution or a state college, a comprehensive, these pedagogies can fit in and supplement the student success efforts at your campus. These on the left are pedagogies that former Chancellor's Learning Scholars have selected and blended to fit their own community. And whatever pedagogy that you choose this year, well, in the next slide, I'll show you the two that we're focusing on. These are always going to be resources. We have pages for you to explore in case one or more of these will support your efforts with online best practices or hybrid high impact practices. The outcomes are your expertise, hopefully collegiality and greater leadership practice, and then the student success practices and products, which are the primary focus of this program. So 2020 to 2022, the third cohort, CLS 3. Because of the pandemic, we really wanted to focus on hybrid nature, some face-to-face, some online, and we wanted to be able to blend really rich practices and products together. So we've chosen, these are really umbrella terms, hybrid HIPs and online practices. They warrant further exploration and discussion. So as a kickoff, here are the topics, and beneath the topics you will also see the ways that we have gathered materials to support that. So let me see if I can show you. Okay. We have a fall webinar series, and many of you have written to say 11 to 12 o'clock is not the ideal time. That's my teaching time. Just know that these programs that we offer throughout September and October are designed for your exploration. They're not absolutely necessary that you see each one. There's a menu, and we know that you may not be able to attend all of them, or maybe even some of them, depending on your schedule. Every program will be recorded and offered to you through that means digitally, and you should be able to hopefully, as you are attending this first kickoff and the how-to workshop on Friday, and move forward through the various kinds of supports that we offer. The Chancellor's Learning Scholars first 2 years, the materials developed from those multiple pedagogies that I identified at the very beginning are also available to you, as will be the recordings of the recordings that we have of the fall webinar series. Okay, so resources from the USG, the CEDLs have been vital supports for us through the 2 years of the program, the resources from the previous cohorts, and finally, we have here today a kickoff of a new social academic platform, something that we want to develop because we have fantastic conversations going on within hundreds of learning communities over the last 3 years. One of the ways that we see greater potential is to connect CLSs and participants to each other across the learning communities. That's the OneHE connection. So looking forward, this is my 6th and final slide. So these are not what I have in my mind as assignments. These aren't things that I'm thinking that each of you should seriously consider. But when I think of high impact practices, I think of the 11 AAC and U high impact practices, the HIPs. And when I think about those being richly enriched through a hybrid approach, I wonder what data sources we can use to create our online service learning HIP, how online writing courses may become enriched, how we build community online with each other through this technology. What does inclusion look like online? Does it change? What does interaction look like when it's online? I think there's an opportunity for us to not only survive the year, but also to enrich our practices in a way and then share them out through your learning communities in a way that will make next year perhaps even stronger when we return to face-to-face. So whether we're working face-to-face in small groups or we're connected virtually through a community, I think the next year will provide a lot of adventure and good trouble for us to get into. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope to receive 100 questions from you, as I have been receiving, and I will turn it back to Denise for the next step.
Thank you. And my next step is to turn it over to Olivia Fleming and Nikki Spalding. They are with OneHE, and they're going to introduce you to the platform. I think you're muted, Olivia.
Yes, fell at the first hurdle, sorry. Hopefully everybody can see that. I'm just going to say good morning to everybody in the US. It's kind of good afternoon from us. It's just after, or coming up to about 4:30. But I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for the time. So my name is Olivia Fleming, and I'm one of the co-founders of OneHE. And with me today is Nikki Spalding, who is our community manager. I'm just going to give a brief introduction into OneHE and the organization, and Nikki will introduce you to the CLS community space on OneHE. So who are OneHE? So we set up OneHE in 2018 with the sole purpose of making teaching better in higher education, however, whenever, and wherever it is done. So in 2019, we worked with a Harvard professor and neuroscientist to develop our OneHE better teaching model, which you see here on the left-hand side of the screen. So we believe that better teaching in higher education can be achieved by building a connected, informed, questioning, and caring community. By connecting, we mean bringing together a global community of educators to share what works and what works in practice. Informed, creating and curating content that is readily accessible, easily digestible, and focused on the practical. What can we actually do in our teaching practice? Questioning, providing a safe, trusted space at a global and a group level that is a learning space to create new thinking. We continually ask, can we do better? And finally, and as equally important, doing all this in a caring way to promote and reward an inclusive mindset. And I think that was something that Dr. Bentley referred to, serving those who have not been served so well so far. So our approach is to fill the gap from theory to practice. There's a lot of theory and evidence for effective pedagogies, but this is not getting to the masses. Our role, we feel, is to translate this into content that is practical, accessible, easily digestible, and available on demand, and provide a space for communities to share their experiences. And this is what we want to do with you, the CLSs. How are we doing this? We are creating micro-learning, bite-sized pieces of learning, 5 to 15 minutes long, and this can be in the form of video, animation, or infographics, or all of the above. We search for the latest thinking, and we're working with 35 pedagogical experts from across the globe to hone their teachings into a form that we can share as widely as we can. As an example, we're working with Jim Lang's work on small teaching, which you see here in front of you, to create bite-sized content to share his very logical and practical approach to making your teaching better. So why OneHE for you, the CLSs, and your wider faculty communities? Well, a review of the support faculty required across USG recognised the need to provide a community space to share learning, give access to resources such as top tips, and adapt resources for your differing needs, particularly around those 8 pedagogies that Jeff just spoke about. This need requires the space to share, to access content, learn, create, adapt, reflect. You'll see as I move around the wheel here, but doing this in a continuous way that allows open discussion and debate. We have set up this space for you in OneHE. We have sent you links, as Denise just talked about earlier, to the space, and we're so excited that a key number of you have already joined it. Note that this is a new space for a new platform and with LMS capabilities, and you're part of a first wave of communities that are moving from our existing platform. So you'll notice that our global community will grow as we transition other groups over the coming months. We're at the start of what we will hopefully be an engaging and enriching journey with you, as we create this space together. And I think that's really important. We want you to feel that this is not a space that is already organized and structured in a way that you will be told what to do. This is a space that you need to make your own in order for you to share the learning and work in a way that fits with how you work. So feel free to be really open about the space, suggest changes or new ideas, and make the space work for you. And we will be here to support that. We're very excited to be part of your work. I'm going to hand over to Nikki now, and she will talk a little bit more on the detail on the different pages in the platform. But we want to make sure over the next few months, as Dr. Bentley says, that we work with you, we celebrate with you, that we reward good work, and that we think now, and more importantly than ever, that today is the right time, because of everything we're living at the moment, to be able to work in a community way. So thank you very much for your time. I'm going to hand over to Nikki now.
So as Olivia said, we're working really closely with Denise and Jeff to really make this space work as well as it can do for you, and working with the programme.
Nikki, I'm sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. Can everybody hear Nikki? Because she's very, very low.
I cannot hear Nikki.
Okay, Nikki, we need to do something with your sound. Cannot hear you, Nikki. Maybe we need to change headphones or something.
I could hear her in the warm-up before 11 very clearly, but now she's very low. It's a beautiful slide. I can see the slide.
Let's see if there's anything in the chat.
She said she's going to leave and come back.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
well,
while she's doing that, I put in the chat, and I'll put it again because it probably just got buried. If you did not receive that email from me this morning, oops, I just put in half a chat. Hold on, I'll copy and paste that again. Then you can go to this URL to create an account for yourself. If you are a returning CLS, you have not got that email from me yet. If you are a new CLS, you should have. But either way, if you click on this link I just put in the chat, you'll be able to create an account for yourself. And there's already there's a question there to just sort of get us started, getting to know each other, trying to think of good things that have happened as a result of the pandemic. So I have posted a prompting question there. And it just is a space for you guys to get in and try to introduce yourselves and get to know each other in the way that faculty learning communities sort of honor, which is not just academically, but also to, you know, create that community sense. So Nikki says she's going to do it by text.
Unless you get, can you hear me now?
Oh, we can, yes.
Yes.
It's low, but I'm going to turn it up.
Okay. All right, I'm going to try and text and talk at the same time. So this is the landing page for USG. So here we have some key prompts for you. So a clear link through to your community group, and also through to some frequently asked questions and key links that Denise has helped me pull together. So Olivia, if you can click to the next slide.
And just so you know, your sound is good now, so you don't have to both text and speak.
Okay. Okay, so this is what the profile looks like, what your profile will look like within the platform. So this is an opportunity for you to share some information about yourself and complete some of the fields. And if there's fields that you think would be really useful for you to have in there to know about your fellow CLS colleagues, etc., you can let us know and we can add those in too. And this is also a place where you can see any of the members that you've connected with. Next slide, please, Olivia. So this is the group space. Now, I took this screenshot before you all started joining today, so I think we're up to about 33 people in there now, which is fantastic. And this is a place where we can really start to share successes challenges and updates. And how we're thinking of doing this is through threaded discussions. You'll see at the moment in there is a threaded discussion around the frequently asked questions that Denise has prepared. And also we're going to add one in there in relation to any questions that you might have about the platform so that I can help you all and so that everyone can see the answers. And this will also be a great place for having discussions between webinars. So if there's particular conversations that you want to carry on between webinars, or if you weren't able to attend the webinar but you've seen the recording, then you can pick up discussion as well within this group space. So yes, the FAQs in there around setting up the faculty learning communities are really helpful, and they are linked to as well from the top menu. If you want to go to the next page, please, Olivia. So this is where the frequently asked questions are saved at the moment. So you'll be able to see the ones relating to your role as a Chancellor's Learning Scholar, and also very practical ones relating to money, so covering some of the things that Jeff was speaking about earlier. And then the last slide, I just wanted to highlight that we also have within the community, you'll see on the top menu a link called Community Building Activities. This is a project that we've worked on with a group called Equity Unbound. There's now 30 resources on this page, resources and activities relating to how to build community online. And they were created primarily for help with how to engage students. However, they are really very, very helpful for how to run workshops and how to actually just build that sense of community and belonging and connection. So it'd be fantastic to find out if there's anything, if you know, people are wanting to try some of these out within their own FLCs or within their teaching as well. So we've been getting really great feedback from these. So I definitely recommend take a look at those and let us know what you think, and if there's any that you'd like to add to that as well. I heard just before we start the meeting people talking about how they're engaging their students and finding new ways. So if you have activities that you would like to add to that, we'd be very, very interested in hearing from you as well. So I think the last slides would just have our contact details on, and I would say please do just reach out to me at any time. I'm always available to answer any questions and take any suggestions around how we can really improve the group space for you. So thank you very much, and my apologies for the sound issues.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks, Olivia. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who is going to introduce the Chancellor's Learning Scholars who are coming back to tell you about their experience.
Okay, so the thought was to create a new platform, and that's what we're doing with OneHE. We're getting in on the ground floor of this new organization, and it's going to become a space where a network, faculty network, can really take shape. And it's not simply within a specific institution or department or college or division, it's across the USG. That's the vision for this. The content at the center is the set of 8 pedagogies that we've identified as student success pedagogies that apply across the disciplines from art to zoology. And what we've done is create great conversations and products through final reports. The next step is to connect each other. So you all are explorers, and coming also today would be former explorers, world conquerors, 4 people who were CLS first cohort folks who've worked for 2 years in this program. And I wrote them this morning asking if they wanted to specify a specific order. Each of them wrote back and said, nope, we'll just, whatever is good for the order. So, you know, we have agreed, I'm going to ask them to self-introduce, but I will simply say who they are as by name, and then they can speak up in turn as they'd like to. Tony Pearson from Gordon State, Ashley Holmes from Georgia State University, Marcus Johnson from ABAC, and Molly Zhu from Dalton State. These are 4 of 110 first cohort folks. We could have asked a number of people, but we knew the time would be pretty short. So we wanted to stop presenting fire hose style and simply listen to the experience of 4 people who have gone through the program, albeit in a face-to-face context. So whoever wants to go first.
I guess I can start. Can everyone hear me? Right on. So first, I just want to say how grateful I am that the USG is keeping this program going, and I'm really grateful to all of you who are picking this up. The last 2 years for me were a really transformative and wonderful experience. So I'm excited for those of you who are starting, and for those of you who are continuing your journey with this program. I think you're going to have a great time. I'm going to throw three things at you, three-ish things. First, the FLC that you lead is going to help create a support structure for teaching on your campus. I don't know about you, but I found teaching to be an inherently lonely activity. I mean, you're physically or virtually in the room with people, your students, when you teach, but when it comes to actually doing the work of teaching, unless you went through a graduate program that taught pedagogy, you basically are up there with the ghosts and memories of your former professors and how they taught you to lead you. And this may just be me, but when I did something well in the classroom, my gut response at the end of the day was, that's just what it feels like when you're doing your job. But on the other hand, when something didn't work, I'd almost always go home feeling terrible, and the voices of self-doubt and imposter syndrome spoke pretty loud to me. So working with your colleagues in the FLC not only gives you this really great opportunity to learn about some learning strategies that you haven't experienced before, it lets you share your successes with each other, and it also reminds you that you're not alone, and everyone has the occasional rough day or week. The second thing, this is going to give you a chance to get to know some of your colleagues outside of faculty meetings and committee work. I know everybody's busy. I work in a small theater program here at Gordon, and it's located on the edge of campus. So for me, you know, I do classes, I do office hours, and set building. And the only time I get to see my colleagues is when I do faculty meetings or committee meetings. And that has its own value and is great. I sound pretty lonely as I say this out loud, but getting together for this purpose is different. It's a really great experience and is fun to get together and talk about teaching. And I've had the opportunity to get to know some really awesome colleagues, and many of those I hadn't worked with before. And finally, this is super rambly, but I'm going to do my best. I think that collectively this program has the potential to create a culture of exploration and excitement around effective teaching. It centers a conversation. But look, we're all tired, we're all overcommitted, and it's hard to do this on your own. What this program does is it carves out a space to start a conversation about teaching techniques with colleagues, and it leaves everybody better equipped to help our students succeed. And it helps meet our faculty halfway. And right now, with pretty much everything feeling terrifying, this is something we can do for our students and our campus and ourselves. And I can tell you, any of the strategies that you choose to pursue in your group, it's gonna leave your students with a greater sense of belonging and help them feel more secure that they can navigate your course. It's great. So I'm excited for you, and I look forward to seeing what y'all come up with. That's me.
That's great, Tony. Ghosts of former professors. I've written down that phrase. That's fantastic. I carry a lot of them, even at my advanced age. I sure do. Who else?
Tony, that was great.
Yeah.
Got to do a little shout out for Tony.
Yeah. We had too many people in the room for me to keep
Jeff,
track.
I can go next.
Okay, good. Okay.
Hi, I'm Ashley Holmes. I'm at Georgia State University, and I'll just say a couple of things about kind of the structure of my community and some of the outcomes that resulted from it. So I started a faculty learning community in 2018 with a group of faculty in my own department. A lot of times these are envisioned as kind of cross-disciplinary, which is perfect, but I'm in a really large department. We have over 50 English faculty, and we're all at different, tenured, non-tenure track. And so it was a chance to really bring folks together in the same way that Tony was just talking about, to really socialize and talk about teaching and get to know each other better and build kind of a strong collegiality. So I really pitched this as kind of a social opportunity. We would meet for kind of appetizers out around town. This was obviously pre-COVID. and maybe, you know, coffees and sometimes a happy hour. And so it was just a great chance to come together to talk about experimentation with our teaching and kind of a safe space where we could say, come back next month and say, well, that totally failed. Let's like think about how this could go differently. So, or to celebrate our successes when something really worked out. So it was a great chance to kind of reflect together and build collegiality. Just to mention a few things for outcomes. First, just some changes in classroom pedagogy. One of our faculty members used to assign a very traditional kind of individual research paper at the end of her class. And through our group discussions, wanted to do something that was a little more engaging, a little more high impact. And so she created kind of a collaborative, public-facing set of student presentations as the final project. So a real radical change in her pedagogy that she, you know, attributes to this group giving her the support to actually try that. And another professor, we did small teaching one year. Another professor instituted 5 minutes of like mindfulness reflection to kind of at the first 5 minutes of class to help kind of set the tone for the day. So that's some kind of classroom pedagogy changes. Number 2, in terms of outcomes, just our strengthened relationships. For instance, we all attended the student presentations for the professor who started that public-facing project. Something we may not have done, you know, we all have busy calendars during exams, but we all showed up for her and for her students. And it was a great opportunity for us to kind of see the fruits of what happened, what we had discussed. We collaborated on some department initiatives related to our quality enhancement plan, our QEP. Some of that kind of came out of some subsets of this group. And then when we pivoted online last spring, we had a built-in teaching community. It was very easy for us to just hop on Zoom and have virtual happy hours and say, oh my gosh, what are you doing in your classroom? So having this kind of community that we knew to turn to for teaching advice. And the last thing I'll say quickly, lots of professional development opportunities came out of this. 2 folks won kind of internal teaching awards or grants. Someone's a teaching fellow this year related to a SOTL project. And then we're co-authoring a book chapter. So it's lots of great stuff, had a great opportunity, and I know you all will too.
All right.
Thank you. Okay.
I guess I'm next. Jeff, can you hear me?
I can. Sorry, I hit the wrong button there. Thanks, Ashley. I appreciate that. Marcus, go for it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Mark Johnson. I'm from ABAC, Abraham Baldwin. You know, Jeff asked us to talk a bit about products. So briefly, I have 3 products that I'll discuss and then a broader result. Our FLC was focused on mindset and agency. That's sort of the connection between those two broadly. And as a result of this, about half of our faculty ended up creating or revising an existing assignment that was already connected to agency and mindset. So we had a couple of English professors. Their favorite assignment was related to developing their identity, student identity as a writer, which of course connects to agency. And so they changed that as a result, and we're happy with it. Another professor improved a planning assignment by using, you know, the feedback to gather data from the students and connect that, the data that was gathered was self-efficacy data. And so then related to the project, and then took that self-efficacy data and connected it to agency and mindset and improved the assignments. And then we had another professor who, instead of changing a particular assignment, decided to tilt the course objectives to make the course learning objectives more clearly connect to his own personal goals for the course, which again were related to agency and mindset, and kind of he was really interested in developing lifelong learners, you know, promoting lifelong learners. And so all of those came from that group. And it was a really fun group. But unlike some other people, I selected the people I wanted, and opened up a few who were interested. And so we got a great group who were really focused. But it was an interdisciplinary group. And so the last thing, the sort of the broader outcome from this was the collegiality. And so, everybody's been talking about this so far, but I feel like there's this so much stored knowledge, knowledge kind of hidden and stored in these silos. And so once we get out and share that with everybody, these things begin to catalyze. And I think that was the goal of the CLS program. And I believe that's happened here at ABAC. So it's been a really positive experience. Thanks, Jeff.
Marcus, that's fantastic. Each of these presentations highlights a different kind of advantage or usefulness of the learning community. And so I think they're saying, use your creativity and invite faculty and colleagues across or within departments and divisions to explore these pedagogies and topics, and then discern how we know that we know that we know that students are truly improving in terms of mindset or success in our courses. Is Molly, I know you had a class, are you here?
Hey, Jeff, yes, I am here. I'm in the session now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to start here. Can everybody hear me fine?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good. Thank you. So my name is Molly. So I'm from Dalton State. I'm in the third year in this term, looking forward to another year of the Scholars Program. So I want to share some of the experiences that we did in our year one and a year two. So just like everyone else who shared their experiences, and I think this experience for me on this campus has been very positive and a very enlightening for me myself. And then the first year I didn't know what this was about. Everything was new. Didn't know whether that recruitment strategy is going to work. And then I remember my VP at the time just called me, can you let us know what this is about? Everybody's looking at it. FLC, what's that thing? It's a new thing. And then I was put on the spot and get on that big, the podium on the stage to address to our faculty, during our faculty assembly to say, what? It's small teaching, because that's what I focused on. So like a small teaching, what is something very small? I was even in the process of exploring what small teaching myself. So I put out a flyer and I said, well, the small teaching is very small. What do you do first 5 minutes of your class? What do you do, 10 minutes before you dismiss your class? Okay, they're small, but it needs to be powerful, impactful. So, is that simple? Okay, so I gave everybody a deadline. Please come. Okay, 11:59 Wednesday, you have time. Please apply. But that's how we get started. But everybody was like, oh my gosh, she's bagging. But I thought I was not going to get anybody. I thought, scary. This is how do I know who's going to apply, who's not going to apply? But I ended up having that year one, having a very good problem. And I was like, at first, and I thought I was not going to get anybody or interested in this thing teaching. And it's plain who don't know, who don't do things. But really, it's another layer of awareness and intentional with dress and we would have hit to really create that potential, the powerful impact in the classroom. So I ended up having more than what I needed. And that's another thing. All of a sudden, I sent out an email. What do I do? Do I need to create a rubric to screen everybody out? And that's another thing. It's like, my gosh, first I worried I don't have anybody. Now I'm having another problem. I don't have a rubric. How do I screen people out? So what earlier other CLS leaders that mentioned about that support network, it's a very important, that network we have from the USG level, which is our campus level. We have that year we have 5 FLCs here on campus. So we are looking to this network to share in our communication, our thoughts, to say, what do I do next? And how do I screen? And where's the rubric? So I got emails when I sent out an email to our USG network to say, what do I do? Everybody inputs, just seconds and minutes. I got a bunch of emails coming back. You can do this. This is how you can do. I got a lot of ideas to help me start to get started at year one. It was a very good experience. And here I also work with here at our local level and our campus level. We have 5 of those. So we talk to each other to see, do you need anybody? So we, in a way, we help everyone who wants to join, have a space. We also want to see that small group of spaces so where we have plenty of time to have that in-depth discussion and communication and etc. So that year 1 was almost like an adventurous but exciting, and I learned a lot. You know, we focus on a small teaching. We focus on that book examine as a small practices. So we're looking at the chapters and looking at the strategies, which is one that we're not familiar with to implement it in our classroom, which is one strategy that's new to us to implement into our classroom. So we had a good experience throughout those sessions, and then we had face-to-face, so we just exchanged on our ideas and experience of how the implementation goes, and how the change dynamics of students' engagement goes on. Some of the things that are just coming along, and some of the things that we immediately see that impact. And that was that year 1. So we take on to wrap up that year 1, and we wrapped it with a small book. That was a strategy proposed by Lane, that book that I will use, James Lane, from 2016. We wrap up with a small book of our own. So that's based on our strategies and our reflection about the experiences of FLC. So we thought that's going to be a good idea. You know, Lane suggested it at the very end of the book. You know, everything is too small. So you started with a small, just one website, one book a year, and you know, outreach one person, and that's what we did in our reflection. So we created collaboratively that small, we call it our small book, and that's a good book, and then we share with in our community, and we also provided as part of our report to go to USG to share with others as well. So that year 1 was exciting, adventurous, but very beautiful discoveries and results came along. So this year 2 we just had, and I found what earlier Tony mentioned was really true. Yeah, so you have that strong support and that community built there, really together. It's not a one person you feel so alone, but when you have a community here, you have consistent communication, consolidation of that rapport and relationship. Together, you stand alone, you weather good times and bad times. And that's what we discovered and found out through year 2. We started in this time last year, and then we weathered through to April back in the spring this year. So we were very excited. The second year, it's even standing out to be more exciting and more. We looking into the bring we added we still focus on small teaching, but based on the bring research, like bring-based learning, we also incorporate these to something small but impactful for based on bring research, bring-based learning. So we had a small cohort again. This is the year 2, and what's exciting is now when we're looking into those small practices, we see more flourishing of our input from our participating faculty members. We have individuals who have very published, and then we have individuals who have been in the field years in experience, but they're looking forward to get more publication on etc. We have tenure faculty that we have on tenure track faculty. We also have lecturers, so that we have also one part-time. So these individuals, they feel this is a very good place for them to get into that collegiality, to know more things about what's going on campus, what's going on.
Molly,
yes. Go ahead.
I'm concerned about the time. We've got about 5 minutes left. I could listen to you for an hour, but with 5 minutes left, I wanted to reserve a few minutes for Denise to wind things up and to think about next steps. Could you sum up in one sentence, I mean, the essence of, I've got a lot of details and notes here, but I want to have 5 minutes left before we get to that cutoff.
Okay, so I'm just going to summarize this. The second year is a feature that we in our input about an inquiry, continued implementation of small brain-based strategies, and our professional development and a scholarship. We have a lot of input out there, conference presentations, and also the book chapter we're working on. Thank
That's
you all.
really impressive. Thank you. No, this is perfect. Actually, I couldn't have scripted it better. The kinds of observations and experiences are fantastic. Denise, with that, I'll turn this back to you to talk about next steps, or maybe field a couple of questions that I haven't seen that are in the chat.
Sure. Just to say, I love to hear the community aspect that you guys are talking about, that you're meeting people and working with them and having these people that you've never worked with before. And that helps so much with morale, which some people are struggling with right now. And I love what Molly said about she was exploring this small teaching, and so she found a group to explore it with together. You are not supposed to be the experts here. You are learning with your community, and that's the really cool thing about this program, is that you're all learning together. So some questions. Mary Lynn Relf has asked, do the projects have to involve undergraduate courses, or can we also include graduate education in our FLC?
I think the focus has been undergraduate, but depending on one's context, I don't see a problem with opening it up to graduate students, graduate faculty. Yeah.
Lou has asked, can we use our funds to buy a few books to review before we select one, or are these funds for materials that we already know we want to use?
Purchase what you feel would be most useful. Yeah.
Someone has asked, Donna Colbeck has asked for a list of FLC participants based on their institution and discipline, so that they can maybe identify crossover. So I think we have done this in the past, and one of the cool things about OneHE is that it could develop into some subgroups for exactly this. Like maybe there's a bunch of English teachers out there from across the institutions that want to form a little subgroup. So that's something that we can also explore. Let's see. Andrea Fraser has asked, when we recruit folks into the FLC, how long do these FLCs last? A year, 2 years?
I think 1 year is a minimum, it's the default. We found that once the learning community has formed, that there's a tendency to want to continue. So if this is a 2-year appointment, then in your second year, many of your members from the first year may elect to continue. They may choose to explore a different topic in another of the 4 institutional learning communities. So there's no real cutoff. The question has become, how and in what ways can we support institutional efforts to make these learning communities an institutional phenomenon? That, I think, would be the way to sustain them. So yes, they can continue up to 2 years, and we'll see.
Arpita Saha has asked about reporting after meetings. We don't expect you to report after your meetings. That could be really tedious for you to have to, type up minutes. But if something really cool happened, we would love to hear about it. Like if you feel like something happened and you want to share it, maybe others want to try this activity you did with your FLC, or if it's a big win that you want to share, we would love that to happen on OneHE. Sorry, that's my dog. Let's see, how many faculty learning communities are usually like around 8 people, give or take, maybe 2. And let's see, I think we're about out of time, but we really would love for you to take more of these questions to OneHE as a place where we can continue this conversation. And I'll hand it over to Jeff to wrap up.
Okay, so the next step is steps. OneHE, create an account, and let's explore this space together. And then Friday, we have our logistics, how to set up the learning community meeting at 11 o'clock on Friday. Both today's and Fridays will be recorded. If you cannot attend and participate, you can always post an email or soon a question on OneHE as we build that sense of connection in that new space. So great, thank you so much for participating in this, and I hope that the benefits that accrue to you will be, outweigh any kind of effort and work that you will put into this program. So thanks a lot, Denise. I'll say see everybody on Friday.
Yeah, we'll see you on Friday.
Okay.
Thanks
Olivia. Thanks, folks.